Hello, 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 everybody. It's so great to see all of your non-existent digital faces in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 15 of Arc 2 of our main Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition livestream actual play campaign. My name is Connie, my pronouns are they, he, and she, and I am the GM and executive producer behind this here Transplanar RPG, which is our all-transgender, people of color-led, 100% homebrew Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition livestream actual play campaign set in an original non-colonial anti-orientalist world. You can find me on Twitter and on itch at by Connie Chong. I am also a professional GM with Magpie Games curated play program. And this is the last episode of Arc 2, so it's bound to be intense and emotional. Fingers crossed. I'm going to pass along introductions now to Devin.
Hello everyone, my name is Devin. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on our Discord server. You should join. It's a wonderful place full of wonderful people. We're very supporting and very happy for everyone who is there and everyone who will join in the future. We know you're going to join and we're looking forward to it. So if you haven't joined already, you might as well just get it done, you know? Post pictures of your pets, post pictures of yourself. You're all beautiful. And also theorize about what's going to happen this episode. What's going to happen? We're going to get to the bottom of it. Anyway, I'll pass on introductions to Erica.
Hello, everybody. I am Erica, she, her pronouns, and I play Vnog Shurzo. You can find me at Erica Newgirl on pretty much any social media platform, and I play horror games here on Twitch. I'm goofy, I'm gay, I'm trans. What more do you want from me? Come check me out.
Wait, Erica, you're gay?
I came out. This is my coming out stream. So with that, I pass it to Max.
Hi, I'm Max. I go by they, them pronouns. You can find me sewing shit on Instagram mostly at Stitchmonger, and my Etsy shop is finally unbanned, I think. So go check me out also at Stitchmonger. I'm gonna pass it to C.
Hi, y'all. My name is Sia. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a dancer, digital artist, tabletop streamer, variety streamer. I don't really know. You can find me streaming at pi_sharp, being an absolute chaotic hype beast for whatever it is that I'm doing in any given day. I also have commissions that are open if you're interested. I did the character art that is on the overlay right now. And I play Okahye, our lovable, horrible, Aasimar blood hunter with so many gods inside them. And with that, I'll pass it back to Connie.
Wonderful. Thank you for all these introductions, folks. As a reminder, we have changed our schedule. So the only piece of programming is our weekly Dungeons & Dragons session on Saturdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Central Time. This thing. So as always, we would greatly appreciate your support during this adjustment period by continuing to tune in Saturdays, telling your friends about us, tweeting us, Instagramming us, etc., etc., etc. Now I am going to pass things along to C to talk about our promo partners.
Yes, as always, you can find other delightful, amazing BIMPOC and trans and queer-led pod-led streams, pods, and projects by using the ! promo partners command in chat at any time. I don't even have to look at the thingy anymore. I just remember it now. So check them out. We love all of our promo partners so much. Amazing folks doing amazing things in the tabletop sphere and beyond. And you can also check out for Arc 3. We will, I swear to you. Listen, I am making you a promise right now that I will put up new merch for Arc 3. Max, don't look at me like that. I will. For Arc 3, I promise you. I have to set reasonable goals for myself, and that's a reasonable goal. Anyway.
Can we get some dewy hmms in chat?
No. Press X to doubt. Yeah, so you can use the ! merch command if you want to get some of our logo stuff on it, because that's up and at 'em. But otherwise, I'll pass things along to Erica, who is our favorite of all time.
I don't know about that, but here at Transplanar RPG, we love to thank the people who have subbed, given bits, donated, so on and so forth. Those people who donated or did many of those wonderful things for episode 14 last week were Crude Imposter Nightbright, Hannah May Create, Dungeon Meowster, River Watches live streams, Max Morkson, Lizzie Beth Cruz, Scruffusas, Pukey Piku, and Erica Newgirl. Who the F is that? Thank you all for your generous contributions. And as you can see on the overlay, we have a 25 sub goal. At 5 subs, that grants the party a point of collective inspiration. At 15 subs, that grants us an auto crit that anyone can use, including the GM. and 25 subs triggers a PC backstory flashback. Max, would you like to tell us what's going on?
I would love to. As a reminder, you can always get to our recap document by using the exclamation point recap command in chat or going to bit.ly/transrecap. I've said that for like a year now and I still can't get it down. Here's what happened last week. Somewhere in the distance, we feel Rev unite with the Raven Queen. As God and Paragon become one, the profane on death dissipates, and lives stuck in... what the fuck?
Keep going. We're just hyping you up, Max. Keep going.
Oh no! Lives stuck in limbo are finally able to rest. Unfortunately, miles away, her girlfriend is at 0 hit points. The Raven Queen sees V in an extra-dimensional space and addresses her as Scott and Nectus. She wakes up with 1 hit point. The race to the Raven's Eye continues, the boat goes over a steep waterfall, and the crew narrowly avoids falling to their deaths. Dewey dispatches the giant mechanical water spider in 3rd place, and Oka commandeers the bullets from the vehicle ahead of them, putting them in 1st. The Raven's Eye is now within sight, a huge swirling whirlpool that would look terrifying in any other setting, but it almost calls to Manaia, her parents. As the ship approaches the turning waters of the Eye, Manaia receives a vision from her father, Nepua. He and her mother, Nali, are stuck in a cove underwater, but they aren't doing well. Manaia will need to harness the Princess of Leaves to save her family. I'm gonna pass it to Devin. Tell us about this session.
Hello, my name's Devin. I use they, them pronouns. You can find... I'm kidding. So, now moving on to the title of Arc 2, Episode 15. The title of each episode of our campaign is, of course, taken from poems or songs written by queer, trans, and/or people of color. And the title of this episode is Blow Gently on My Heart, which is from the poem The Old Astronomer and His Pupil by Sarah Williams. The full verse, unfortunately, has a bit of some spoilers, so we're going to save that for later in the session. And so I'll pass it back to Connie.
Wonderful. Thank you, Devin. And now moving on to the session itself, some content warnings for this campaign in the session may include death of loved ones, addiction, memory loss, body horror, gore, fantasy violence, emotional trauma, and baggage. Self-destructive behavior, bloodletting, cults and cult-like behavior, anxiety and panic attacks described in detail, poverty and classism, a refugee crisis, natural disasters, and economic injustice. Oh, and probably like scary ocean times, because we're in the middle of a scary ocean time. So, now that we're all settled, let's begin. 7 years ago, there was a storm. A furious, violent storm of wind and rain and thunder. The kind of storm that sailors swear they aren't exaggerating about. The kind of storm that makes you believe in the gods. Kahealani straddles the rain-whipped deck of the ocean's thread, one hand gripping a length of rope strapped to the mast, the other wielding a massive axe that most people would struggle to lift even with 2 hands. This strong, dark-skinned orc woman raises her voice to be heard over the booming peals of thunder. Nepua! Tell me where it is! A human man, his brown skin glistening with translucent coppery scales, braces himself against a shattered mass of wooden crates. I can't see it anymore. It must be singing. Kahealani! Nepua, look out! The warning comes from a long-eared elf woman, her leather armor and robes battered with wind and salt. And Nali dives out of the way as a massive wave pummels the starboard side of the ocean's thread, the greedy fingers of the boundary waters sweeping away the blood and gore that slick the deck. Kahealani bangs the butt of her axe against the floor, splintering the wood of the deck. Damn it! Show yourself! Fight with honor, you monster! Nepua calls out to her, Kahealani! But his warning comes half a second too late. Another wave slams into the port side, this one sweeping all 3 sailors off their feet and overboard. Nepua throws out his hand, and a glowing bubble forms around Kahealani before all 3 of them are swallowed by the hungry, lightning-riven sea, with the Raven's Eye swirling furiously in the near distance. which brings us to here. To now. 7 years later, the Raven's Eye whirlpool continues to swirl, a hurricane of lashing winds and pummeling rains whirling above the white-capped depths of this whirlpool. Oka, Dewey, V, and Manaia. The four of you approach the eye, your rig drawn by a lone Pegasus, the bone breakers shuddering in abject terror behind you. It's getting closer. What do the four of you do?
Oka is going to kind of like hop down off the front because at this point we're being pulled more by the wind and less by the Pegasus or anything like that. So Oka is going to like scramble over to Manaia, who I think is like hanging off the front on her axe is where we left her. And they like put a hand on her shoulder. They're like, Manaia, I trust you, but you better have a fucking plan for this.
Manaia squints with the ocean water, the salty ocean water spraying her face, and she nods and swings back up. And she puts a hand on Oka's shoulder and says, "Don't worry. The winds and waves of Mahu flow through my veins as strongly as any hurricane. We'll make it. I promise. Right, gather around."
V turns from the side of the boat where she was defending off the spider and heads towards Manaia and Oka and says, "Manaia, I've done a lot of risky things, but this may be the funnest thing I've ever done."
I haven't.
A lot more exciting.
Dewey shuffles over and is like, I haven't done a lot of exciting things, and this is really scary. Do you have what's the plan?
Right. We're about 10 minutes out from the edge of the whirlpool. I'm sure you can feel the winds. They're strong now, but once we get in there, they'll be strong enough to blow you off the boat. So first things first, we need everyone strapped down. Everyone get a harness, get a rope, get something, and tie yourselves to the base of the mast. To the base of the mast.
All right. As the four of you rush and the bone breakers to follow Manaia's command, why don't all of you make a sleight of hand dexterity check for me to see how well you can tie yourself down?
I'm
Make
already
those
tied
checks.
in, I think.
Yeah. So Manaia's not tying herself down, and Dewey's already tied down, which means Manaia's going to approach Dewey, but I'll let y'all resolve your checks.
Thank you. What did you get, Oka?
I got a natural 20. I tie the best fucking knot of my life. It's like an easy slip, so I could just pull on one end and I'm completely undone and I will never get tangled up in it. It's the best knot you've ever seen. Anyway.
Scout.
You hear a laugh, and Manaia slaps your back a little hard and goes, "Ha! You're not sure about this."
Wonderful.
I rolled a 23.
Oh my god. All right.
I mean,
You just had to one-up me, didn't you? You just had to.
it wasn't a natural 20 or anything. It was just a 23.
I, as a DM, I'm striking out, throw them off of the boat from my notes.
For once, V does not get knocked off the boat, okay?
For once in your goddamn life, V, you're actually useful. Okay, so the bone breakers are like, they're trying. Lore has tied like a shoelace, like she's like bunny under over the rock. Under the tree. Damn it, I don't know what I'm doing. And Quailheart is just staring at like Dewey and has like put his like feathered hands on Dewey's like rope that's like still binding him to the mast. He's going, "Let me in, brother. Please, let me join you there."
Right. Oka, V, would you help the bone breakers? Dewey, a moment.
Yeah. Anything to get away from this guy.
I'm always watching. I'm here for you, Dewey. And
Right,
Quailheart,
Quailheart,
like,
you need your... Just... Right. Alright, Dewey. You're the lightest out of us, which means your weight won't make a difference on this ship, so I need you. So, walk with me. And I take Dewey to the port side of the ship, where there is a long rope that goes from the top of the mast to the gunwale, the top of the bulwark, that like sort of edge of the ship. And there's a rope to tie it around a little piece of metal, like a little hook. It's one of 4 that go to the front and back of the ship and to the 2 sides to keep the mast from falling over. Dewey, this rope is called a shroud. It keeps the mast from falling over. You should know this, as you were there when we put this up. Now, when we get into the Raven's Eye, we're going to have a lot of strong winds from the starboard side. That's the other side. Right? So, on my mark, I need you to unloop this rope and bring it to the other side. We need to reinforce the mast from that side so it doesn't snap. If it snaps, the ship goes down. Alright?
This happens when we're in
The whirlpool. The mast is down right now, so it'll be relatively safe. But I'm going to pull the sail up once we're close to the bottom so the winds will blow the ship up and out to the end of the race. And I need you to tie this rope.
Sure. You sure you know what you're doing? Are we not taking this boat to the... Are we not gonna take this boat to the bottom?
She won't make it.
We won't
Plus-
make it.
Dewey. Manaia puts her hands on your shoulders. I don't care who you worked for. I don't care whose paragon you are. You're a Nuhan. Which means, look at me, Mahu's waves flow through your veins as strong as any ocean current, and her fire burns fiercely in your heart. You can do this. We'll make it. All right?
I trust you.
All I ask.
Aw, Manaia, why don't you take a point of inspiration for that? I would give one to you too, Dewey, but you're already full up.
Damn.
Okay.
Right. Now that we're all harnessed in, here's the plan. We're going down to the Raven's Eye. The ship has... The sail is down for now. When we get to the bottom, I'm going to pull the sail up and tie it. And the winds of the hurricane and the winds of the eye should carry you up and out the other end. But in order to angle the sail right, we need to tip the boat to its right, the starboard side. That's that side. Okay? So, on my mark, everyone makes their way to the gunwale on the starboard side. I'll pull up the sail, and we'll practically fly out of there. Understood?
Okay. As the rest of you nod, Scrum lets out, It's getting close! It's approaching! Oh boy! As now gale force winds begin to whip and buffet like the sides of this rig. You could feel like this boat like rocking from side to side as the waters get choppier and choppier, and all of you can feel ocean spray hitting your faces, the salt spackled water like grating against your skin and getting into the crevices in your feathers, Dewey. Yes, Oka.
Oka was just gonna kind of like, as we're approaching, like side up beside Manaia and ask a little bit lowly, like, Manaia, it's gonna take us a second at the bottom. I don't think. Well, how are we gonna get out of there? We send the boat back up with, those 3 on it, but we're not gonna leave you or your parents down there at the bottom.
My parents. Napua is the most powerful sorcerer I've seen in my life, don't tell V. And I swears my mother could probably throw us all out if she wanted. We'll find a way out. But we need to get down there first.
Well, we're not going to leave you down there. We'll find a way out together. On your mark, Captain. And Oka's going to like sidle back into position.
Right. Let's do this.
Okay. As the rig draws closer and closer to the whirlpool, like the three bone breakers, they've like strapped themselves into like the very back, and they're like shuddering like they're kids on a roller coaster. They're like quaking, and Quailheart's going, "Here we go," and Laura's going, like saying something in Nabalish that do you understand as like a prayer to Scott and Nectus to like carry them through this huge risk that they're taking. And then you all feel the current pull you as you reach the edge of this whirlpool, and it is massive. It is maybe like several 100 feet across at its widest diameter, this huge whirlpool. You can see like the finish line is beyond it, right? You can see something like floating like in the air, but like the gale force winds are obscuring what the finish line might look like. And as the rig begins to follow the line of this current, I need all of you to make a dexterity saving throw. It's going to be a low DC because you're all strapped in, to make sure you remain strapped in. So tell me what you got.
Non-natural 20.
Nice. Okay, Manaia. Dewey?
18.
18 for Dewey. V?
13.
Okay, 13 for V. Okay.
Yeah,
How's a 5 do?
You better use that goddamn collective inspiration. I swear to Mahu's winds and fires.
How low is the DC?
So. Yeah, how low is the DC? Did 5 hit it? Or
I don't think 5 is quite gonna cut it, so why don't you use that collective inspo?
It's a 10.
That just makes it.
Oh, fucking thank God.
A 10 just makes it. A 10 just makes it. So all of you are strapped in. You can see the bone breakers bouncing in their seats as the boat begins to tip a little bit from the force of the swirling. The mast is still folded down at this point, right, Manaia?
The mast is up with all the shrouds tied.
Okay, but the
so that it
sail
doesn't
isn't
fall.
out.
Sail is not out.
All right, that's smart. So as it begins to tilt to almost a 45-degree angle, and it begins to move faster and faster and faster, just like a roller coaster, going up, 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 and you're beginning to go down, right? You're beginning to take your first drop, and water begins splashing and spraying into the interior of the boat. And the bone breakers, Laura goes, "Oh, Manaia, what do we do? We're starting to sink." As water fills the inside of this rig. What do the four of you do?
See if you can figure out what I'm doing here. Manaia, probably holding another end of a rope tied to the mast and her axe in the other hand, slams the butt of it into the deck, maybe cracking a little bit of the wood, and goes, "Damn it! we need holes in the bulwark." And she, while one hand holding the rope, the other hand cracks a hole in the bottom of the bulwark, right up, right above the deck, to give the water a way to go out. But so small enough that the water doesn't come in through it.
Interesting. I'll actually give you inspiration for that. That's really cool because you obviously studied up on boat stuff. I'm like,
really
what the hell is a bulwark? So, okay, you begin to crack holes and you see the water leaching through. So even as water pours in, it splashes back out through the holes that Manaia is puncturing through, through the bulwark. And Laura goes, "What are you doing? You're destroying her. You're destroying my ship." Oh, wait. Oh, nice. as the rig continues
Manaia
to
just
escape.
gives her a look.
Yeah, Quailheart is screaming this high-pitched squeal you've never heard him make in his lower octaves. I think only Dewey you can hear him due to your bird ears. He's screaming up there. And Scrum the Goblin's just going, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah," and pounding the hilt of his dagger against the hull. And as the rig continues to go, it's picking up even more speed now. So I need all of you to make a Constitution saving throw to stay, I think, maybe not incapacitated as the speed begins to pick up, like reaching terminal velocity, sort of. What did you all get?
Also, non-natural 20.
Oh my god,
14
Manaia.
plus 6.
Jesus.
21.
16.
A fucking 9. What the hell?
Do you have my dice?
Dewey, what did you get, Dewey?
Huh? 16.
16. Okay, all of you are fine. Oka, this is like the worst day of your life. You're getting whipped. You know how like sometimes you're on a roller coaster and you're like not strapped in super securely, so you're getting whipped around, like rattled around like a little bead in a can.
But my knot was so good. My knot was so good.
Too good.
Your knot is the only reason you're like not unconscious. You're not unconscious. As your head like lashes from side to side, side to side, you get real dizzy, right? As you're beginning to like skate the edge of this massive whirlpool. So Oka, I think what that means is you will have disadvantage on your next attack roll, saving throw, or ability check. A -1 forward, I guess, in PBTA terms. So as the boat continues to swirl, Manaia, it's getting to that time. It's beginning to go. It's not getting out of the Raiden's Eye, right? Because that wasn't your plan in the first place. It's getting taken by the whirlpool. And the water splashes in and splashes out through the holes. Water splashes in and splashes out. And actually a huge wave washes over you, all white surf and foam. And like it leaves like fish behind in its wake that like flap and like flop on the deck, but they like flap out as soon as they come in. And you see like a shellfish and then like a seagull, like all these poor creatures that have been stranded by the hurricane above and like brought up from the depths of the ocean from the force of the whirlpool swirling. So Manaia, you begin to get deeper and deeper in, and it's not like a straight funnel down, right? Like you can't see the seabed from here. You're gonna have to go underwater, and it's coming up soon. Like even those holes will not be enough. You're gonna get submerged. So what do you do before the rig goes under?
Manaia lets out a Nuhani yell, hooks the mast with her axe and swings up, pulling the mast up, and quick ties a knot.
Okay. I think I'll just a low check for you. Why don't you just make a dexterity check and add your proficiency modifier? Because you are proficient with ships.
14.
Okay, that is sufficient. So describe to me what it looks like as you're rigging the mast to get ready.
Yeah, she just she grabs the sail. I can't do words. She grabs the sail with one hand and hooks her axe on the mast with the other hand and swings up to the top, to the masthead, the top, pulling the sail up. And she grabs like another end of one of the shrouds, probably, and ties the sail up so that it's up.
Sounds good. It's getting to be Dewey's time soon. I think all of your like hearts sort of like drop down, not because necessarily maybe you're scared, but because that's literally just what your body does when responding to such speed and force and winds and waves just buffeting you from all sides. And the rig goes under. It like starts to submerge under the water, and there's like little pockets and gasps of air as like bits of it like poke out, but it's starting to get carried by the force of the whirlpool. And Manaia, there's a slight window of opportunity to like rocket the rig back out from the depths of the whirlpool, but we're approaching that window and it will close soon. So what do we do?
When we get to a gasp of air, Manaia yells "Go!" to the crew to just get them to the other side, and stops Dewey from doing what Manaia told her to do, because if he does that, the mast will snap since we're underwater, and the wind isn't a factor here. And she is going to get to the back of the ship. Maybe she'll like, with one hand, just like pull herself down the gunwale to the back, and hook her axe onto the back of the ship and jump off to angle the ship up so that it goes
Okay, so that's going to be some kind of a check. It's going to be pretty high DC because you are not only trying to you're trying to attempt the impossible here, right? Which is to sail into the Raven's Eye and out, which is something that sailors have said no one's ever accomplished here. So I think that's going to be, again, a dexterity vehicle handling check that you can add your proficiency modifier to. We do have an auto crit on the board.
And if I know this is going to get the ship out, I will use it.
Okay, this will get the ship out. Okay.
I will use it.
I'm taking that auto crit off the board. So Manaia, describe to me what happens.
So Manaia goes to the back of the ship, pokes her axe onto the back, and jumps off, and with a huge yank, the ship sort of tilts up, and the sail, I think, starts catching some of the water and then some of the wind. And because the ship is angled up, and the sail is built to push the ship forward, the ship starts turning the circular momentum into circular plus vertical.
Okay. The sail billows outward, right? And like a gust of wind catches it. And it's the oddest thing. It's like that scene, it's like a fucking Peter Pan movie. The rig actually skates over like a big smashing wave. And yes, Manaia?
As soon as the ship starts going out, Manaia is unhooking her axe and jumping in.
Okay. And as the ship sort of rockets into the air, actually, and I think all of you smell the scent of almost like leaves and autumn as this gust serendipitously carries the ship out of the danger zone, right? And the ship's still gonna whirly-durly around a little bit, but it'll whirly-durly its way out of the Raven's Eye and rocket its way toward that finish line. And all of you see Manaia like a little chip of wood fly out as the axe is dislodged from the ship, and Manaia jumps. Oka, Dewey, V, what do you do as the ship is sailing through the air like waves, like pummeling it from all sides, but being borne toward safety?
Luca's been pretty discombobulated this whole time, but as soon as Manaia's gone, they pull on that fancy pants knot. And I think they try to do a dive off, but they trip over a fucking fish and they just go face first into the water after Manaia. And I don't they're sputtering water, so they don't even say anything. They just untie themselves, trip, and then they're in.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Why don't you have a point of inspiration for taking that L so gracefully? I won't even make you roll for it because you're gonna take that L on going in, Oka, so just know that going in. So Oka also undoes the knot. There's a glorious moment as the rope falls away, but perfectly, but then you fall. Your boot skids on a eel that's flopping around.
I'm very dizzy. I don't even know which way is front. I don't know which way Manaia went, but I'm going to.
Great, awesome. I think just by taking that automatic L, we can get rid of the disadvantage penalty on your next check because you're taking the L here, and you flop over the edge of the railing of the hull. Dewey and V, what do the two of you do?
V is gonna watch Oka taking that L, so to speak. Gonna look back at Dewey as she's untying, and she's just gonna look at Dewey and be like, "It's a perfect day for a swim," and just sort of almost in a very calm manner, just because the ship is too tilted, so you just see almost V's being taken in by the spray of water, and it looks almost like a scene from certain wizarding movies where people just go into the mystical light and she disappears into the water.
All right, which leaves just Dewey and the three bone breakers as this rig soars, and Quailheart's reaching out to you, being like, "Don't do it, Dewey. Don't leave us. You'll die." What do you do, Dewey?
Dewey's knot is not nearly as sophisticated as the others, so it's kind of it's fist size. He's just trying to pull it apart as quickly as he can, because also Quailheart's reaching for him. And the moment he gets it free, he just kind of folds his arms against his body and his head in, and he just lets the force take him off the boat, because
Dewey does the first brave thing of his life exclusively to get away from an annoying NPC.
You hear Quail Heart go, no. And it like fades into just his voice swallowed by these like whipping foam sprays in the wind and the water. And all four of you plunge into icy, cold darkness. So I'm gonna need, there's some sort of check I think that needs to happen here. Why don't the four of you make a athletics check for me? That feels the most accurate. So whenever you're ready, Dewey?
8.
8 from Dewey. Oka?
21, finally.
21 from Oka. Manaia?
Keep rolling 14s, so that it's going to be a non-natural 20.
Unnatural 20, again from Manaia. V. Oh boy. V, what did you get?
2.
Okay, we don't have any collective inspiration on the board, and we're
V
out of
is
that
dexterous, not strong.
It's true, but that didn't help. It was a poor roll plus negative modifier.
Okay, so as the four of you plunge headfirst into this whirlpool, you're basically all like holding your breaths, right? And like letting the whirlpool take you down and literally taking a leap of faith. And Oka and Manaia, the two of you are able to stay like keep your eyes open if you want, against like the rushing salt water and like the fish and the swirling and like the little pockets of eddies and whatnot. As this is Mahu's strength. This is Mahu's fury. This is Mahu's might as you are pummeled down, down, down into the swirling abyss of this water. Oka and Manaia, the two of you remain conscious. That's what your roles mean. Dewey and V, sometime in the middle of getting banged up and punched by water and a literal fucking whirlpool that you just jumped into, the two of you lose consciousness. Right? You don't die, but I think you just become incapacitated by the whipping motions and maybe because you're unable to take a breath, right? So as you get forced down, 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 Oka and Manaia, two of you make just a constitution check first.
Check, not saving throw.
Not saving throw. You can add, well, actually, let's do say, I don't like the way saving throw is phrased, right? This is more of like a how long can you, so you can add your proficiency to it if you're proficient in con saving throws.
In that case, 10.
I mean, I'll roll it, but 5. 5. But also, I would love to have using maybe that athletics check instead of like keeping myself upright or eyes, hands alive, open. I would have tried to perhaps grab onto either Dewey or V instead, or like could that be the boon of saving on the athletics check potentially?
Yeah, let's say that. Yeah, let's say that's what the boon is. So Oka, you can grab either V or Dewey, and Manaia, because you also rolled so high, you can grab the other if that's what you feel like your character would do. So who's grabbing who?
Manaia's just gonna bear hug Dewey.
Yep. Oka, I think maybe V, when she like backwards jumps, like kind of lands almost on Oka, and they're like, stop! And then they're like, wait, you're mine! And they grab, and they just go down. But I did get a 5 for that other thing you just asked for, so we'll see what happens.
So remember, you have a point of inspiration, Oka. So do you, Manaia, because you got, what, like a 10? And we also have an autocrit on the board again, thanks to a generous donor. So would either of you, before I resolve what happens with your 5 and your 10, like to use inspo or autocrit?
I will use one of my inspirations.
Sounds good. Let's re-roll that, Manaia. What about you, Oka?
Sure, I will also go ahead and do that.
All right, so inspo from both.
24.
Okay, a 24 from Manaia. Oka?
A 15.
Okay, that is much better than earlier. So both of you are able to, Manaia, you're bear hugging Dewey, whose like head is just sort of limply flopping, and his glasses are gone. Dewey's glasses are just completely washed away, right? There's like no fucking way. There's no way. That's what happens when you jump. I lost my glasses when I was like 10 in like a lake, right? Like a Girl Scout camp. There's no way you keep your glasses on, especially with these checks. And V, Oka, you're like grabbing onto V, like V's like chrysalis robes are like swirling everywhere, getting waterlogged and like whipping her around. But the two of you are able to remain conscious with your Constitution saving throws. You're able to like hold your breath for as long as you need to until you reach the bottom, amazingly enough. And as you're borne down, 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 really, you're also able to bear the brunt of the pressure. Like the tons of cubic force of like ocean water, like trying to compress you, right? Like, but the two of you are able to just take it. Unfortunately, Dewey and V, because both of you are unconscious, you're just going to straight up take a little bit of force damage. I don't think save necessary. So why don't both of you mark down 10 points of force damage taken as you're buffeted by the ocean.
V's is 0 again.
Yeah, no, I'm legit unconscious then.
Why not just make it 5?
Oh boy.
It's not that bad.
Little.
I mean, I think that tracks for me. that tracks for me. So V, you fall fully unconscious, like for real again. And Dewey, take those 10 points of force damage as the four of you get borne down by these swirling waves. Oka and Manaia, because the two of you are conscious, make a perception check for me.
Sure. I also want to say that the thing that Oka is doing in this moment is instead of like letting them like just like getting taken, they're trying to swim down. They're trying to go as fast as they can, like downward, like to get out of the swirling and into like the downward motion. But sure, I will also make a perception.
You lost me on that tail end. Can you repeat?
18. I was just saying that, yes, I would make a perception check. It was an 18.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, I mean, based on your athletics checks from earlier, they're not quite high enough to be able to swim. I mean, unless you're like swimming with the current and like not fighting it and just trying to go down, then I think that's fine. But this is a literal fucking huge whirlpool. I don't think you can swim against it or out of it, right? So as you go down, you got an 18. Oka, what did you get, Manaia?
24.
You both are rolling so well. Yeah, 24. That is both sufficient for the two of you as you're grabbing onto your unconscious, incapacitated party members and just bearing down. The two of you see beyond this like swirling, because you're also getting like bored in circles over and over and over. It's very dizzying. But with your 18 and your 24, you're able to discern shapes in this like swirling darkness, right? Because at this point, like light still penetrates from the surface, but it's leaching out more and more. And as you are reaching kind of like the ocean floor at this point, it's getting really fucking dark. But you can sort of see like vague shapes beyond the swirling eddies of the whirlpool. You see what appears to be a huge, almost like a mountain around you. Like if the seafloor like were to go up as well, it's not just like flat on the bottom, right? There seem to be mounds and you see like reefs like swirling by. You see like big dark moving shapes that could be fish or whales or sharks or anything like that. And you see like a big and Manaia, with your 24, you also see like the battered, broken remnants of dozens of ships, just like littering like all over, like crammed and slammed against the sides of these rising seamounts is what they are, like little like almost like underwater buttes, right, that like rise up from the seafloor. And as the four of you get swirled deeper down and deeper down, Oka and Manaia, you also see two other things. The first thing you see, and Manaia, I think maybe this resonates with you a little. In one of the seamounts that's beyond the whirlpool, right? Beyond the swirling tides of the whirlpool, you see like a little cave entrance that's like drilled into the side of what looks to be like a rocky, mossy reef, right? Of this seamount. And your heart almost like sings when you look at it. And you feel a flash of that vision you got before you plunged into the whirlpool, like wipes across your mind as well. And you just know intuitively that is close to where your parents are. Like that, it's there. It's gotta be there. There's no other place it could be. Like that cove, that cave is the key. The only problem is getting out of the whirlpool to get there, right? The second thing that both of you see is the bottom of the whirlpool. And the two of you see its source. there is a massive fissure cracked in the ground. At this point, maybe 300 feet away, like below you. Not like right there, right? You've got some time. A huge cracked fissure just like oozing air bubbles and jets of like steam and vents. But there's something else. The depths of this fissure are glowing. It's glowing a strange, almost like rainbowy, iridescent like sheen, almost like an underwater aurora borealis. So Oka and Manaia, I need both of you to make an Arcana check for me.
Manaia doesn't know much about magic at all, so interpret this how you will, but it's not 20.
Okay, Oka?
Oka got a 19 also.
Damn, these rolls are so good. Like, Dewey and V are just like limply, like people around being like, damn. Oka and Manaia. This is definitely some magical shit, right? Like, it's actually brimming with magic. And the two of you can feel like the lines and the threads of the weave, like pulling tight against your skin, especially as you get closer to it. And Oka, your heart begins to beat very quickly, and Vinash sort of begins to squirm a little, like against the confines of your soul. And you realize what this is. It's fear. This fissure, it's just brimming with power, right? Like this thing, whatever this phenomena is, it is ancient, right? Like maybe as Vinash is squirming, Vinash seems to recognize it, right? Maybe even as ancient as the gods. And every fiber of your being, Oka, is screaming at you to get the hell out of there, like go back up the whirlpool, like do not go in there, do not go in there, right? Like whatever magical energy is in there will probably tear you apart in some way beyond the physical. Manaia, with your nat 20, you glimpse in like the mesmerizing ethereal shimmers of this like light coming out of the depths of this fissure. Images of Andake's past. You see almost like armies marching, like right, like across like an open field. You also see like a massive sword like flying through the air and like piercing the ground and causing a like an earthquake. You see a woman clad in sort of like plate armor, and as she like jumps off of the ground, cratering it like beneath her from the force of her takeoff as she launches into the air. And as these images flash to your mind, why don't you make a history check for me to see if you know if you can place them?
18.
Oh, yeah, these are images from the Gambit of Queens many millennia ago in Andake's like mythic past, right? You also see glimpses of, well, it's hard to describe. You're from the kingdom of Uhanahi, so some of this makes more sense to you. I'm glad you're the one who got a nat 20, right? Because you see huge structures of steel, right? And steam chugging into the air, black ash spouting from chimneys. And you see these, they're kind of similar to the vehicles that you were racing against right here in the Derelict Death Derby. You see these vehicles, I suppose, with sort of, they almost look like glistening beetles, like chugging along like a black strip, right? And like plumes of exhaust and gas are chugging out of their rear sides, and like there's like glassy like windows like built into their sides, like these like structures of steel, and they're rolling along on wheels, but the wheels are made of a material you've never seen before. And you also the last thing you see, I think, is a face. I actually don't know if you would have seen this face before, but I'll describe it to you. A man's face, pale skin, blonde hair that's sort of like slicked back, right? And he's got these like pure, like these, I think I described them as having blue eyes. And he's wearing this sort of like garb you've never seen anyone wear before. It's almost like similar to these. It's like a suit, right? But it's like very like manicured, like it's like a charcoal gray, and he's got like a tie on. But like the style is really like foreign to you. You've never quite seen it. And you can see his face in the rift. And And the same things that I described to Oka are also happening to you. This feeling of fear, right? Of the Princess of Leaves, like pressing against your soul, like almost like crying out at you, like don't go in, like don't get sucked in there. So with all of that information thrown at you, Oka and Manaia, what do the two of you do?
I'm a little confused about like the geolocation of where we are. Are we underwater swirling, or is this like a whirlpool where there's still air and we're like sideways kind of and swirling down towards it? And where is the cove in all of this?
You are not breathing. It's completely underwater. The cove is, there's still like, I wish I could, okay, I'll bring up a picture. Bao, please get out of the way. My God, kind of like this, right? You see that huge, vast, swirling like funnel. There's a vast swirling funnel of a whirlpool that goes all the way down, and it seems to originate from a fissure in the ground, in the seabed, and sort of like rising up around you are rocky formations. So the seabed, the seafloor isn't just like flat and there's a fissure. There's like little like coral reefs and like jutting bits of like almost like underground buttes, like I described earlier, like beyond, like within the swirling of the whirlpool. And built into one of these, or rather chiseled into the side of one of these like reefs, or as I described them, seamounts, is like a cave entrance that is calling out to Manaia. So you're not breathing, you're still underwater during all of this.
Okay, that clarifies things for me. And basically there is no way for us to get out of the whirlpool. Like no strength check will be strong enough to swim to the cove, basically.
I mean, I would say a really high strength check would be sufficient. We do have an auto crit on the board. Or if you could like use magic or figure out a different way.
Manaia can't communicate with Oka since we're underwater, so she's going to attempt to break away from the whirlpool and swim towards the cove in hopes that they see her. And with Dewey, maybe like a larger shadow in the water, and try to follow.
Will you be using the auto crit, or do you want to see how you roll first?
I'm going to see how I roll. I have 2 inspiration.
Make an athletics check.
Use 1 inspiration.
Sounds good.
22.
Okay, a 22. I'm gonna give you a hard choice.
Okay.
Either you can make it out, or you can throw V. And like get V
Dewey,
out.
mean?
Sorry, Dewey. Yeah, or you could throw Dewey like toward, like in like a straight line, like toward that cove. It's one or the other with a 22.
Dewey's unconscious, right?
Yes.
Which means he's kind of dead in the water if I just throw him. But I can't leave him in the whirlpool. Can't hear you, Connie.
Oh, sorry, I had my mic muted. What the hard choice means is that either you'll safely get to the cove or he will. So I'm not going to be like, oh, he swirls and falls into the fissure. Like, if you throw him at just the right angle, right? Because the cove isn't outside of the whirlpool. It's like still within its swirlingness. So if you throw Dewey at just the right angle and at the right force, you'll like use the current and he'll clip onto the edge of the cove and go in.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to do that and then wait for myself to go around and then try again.
Sounds good. Okay, so Manaia, you throw Dewey, and his limp feathered form sort of like whirls around the edge of the swirling eddy, and he smacks against the lip of the cove, and like more of the current pushes him in. And Dewey, I think you start to regain consciousness as the smack like sort of wakes you up, and your body is like in a washing machine, like getting like hurled all down. What you're realizing now, Dewey, is a tunnel, a stone tunnel, right? Like inside, built into the seamount. But before we get to you, Dewey, Oka, what do you do?
I'll try something similar, I suppose. As maybe Oka is still like trying to see all of this. they still have their culling edge out from earlier, so they're just gonna like as they come around to the side of the cove, try to just like plunge that into the rock to hold on, so that they could like crawl in that way. Is my attempt.
Okay, that's really smart, actually. I'll give you a point of inspiration for that. Why don't you make an attack roll?
I'll be using that inspiration right away.
Sounds good.
Do we have any other collective inspiration?
No, but we have an auto. No, but we have an auto crit on the board.
Okay, yeah. I suppose if that will get me and V in there, then I will take it.
Sounds good. Okay, so let me just toggle that off. All right, Oka, what happens?
Oka is like holding on to like basically like around V's waist with one arm, and like they tuck like and they kind of like punch back behind their own head into the like at the lip of the cove basically, and it just goes right into the rock. And I think it's kind of like they ragdoll for a minute and like they like go out, but they just like hold on, and then they get like a foot in there, and then they like, you know, then I think maybe it like is like once the current like snaps back and they're able to like just kind of like whoop, like up and into the cove, like using that force of like going around to get in.
Awesome. Yeah, so you like punch your culling you punch your culling edge into the rocky side of this seamount, dragging V right with your other hand, and you basically like ice pick your way and you fling yourself into that cove right safely with V's battered body sort of being pulled along by you. And as you swim and punch and swim and kick your way into that tunnel is what you realize it is now. You see sort of like a Dewey's body like floating, like bouncing along in front of you. But before we resolve that, let's go back to Manaia. You're going another way around, right? And you've sunk maybe another 50 feet. You're not out of range of the cove yet, right? But that fissure is getting like closer and closer, and you can see it's shimmering, and I think the bottom of your face is like lit up by its iridescent like oil slick spill of power. What do you do?
I think maybe Manaia sees Oka like stab their culling edge in and is like, ooh, maybe I could do that. And so she's gonna try to like hook into the rock with her axe.
Awesome. Make an attack roll. You do have a point
I'm using
of
an inspiration.
Okay,
I'm using my inspiration.
Sounds
So
good.
not fucking one. Okay, that's better. 19.
19. Okay, that is sufficient. So you bang, you like hook the hooked edge of your axe against like that seamount, and you're able to hold on even as for a little bit at least as like the waves like whip into you. So describe to me what it looks like as you try to like maybe ice pick your way up to the cove.
Yeah. So she basically just like axe hand into the cove, and is like really making sure that every handhold and foothold is sturdy and secure before putting any weight on it.
That's actually really smart. I'll give you a point of inspiration for that. So as you as well, like sort of fling yourself into this like watery tunnel, Dewey, you snap back to consciousness, right? Everything is blurry, like a lot more blurry even than if you were underground because your glasses are gone, is the first thing maybe that you notice. The second thing you notice is that you're in a cramped, almost like tunnel-like space, right? There's still a current, right? And it's quite strong and it's trying to wash you back out. But I think as you like maybe like tumble for a little bit, like in the water, you bump against a solid form, Oka. And Oka, Dewey, Manaia, not V because you're unconscious, you all see like this tunnel sort of terminates, right? It's like almost like a natural like rocky tunnel situation. It terminates, and above it there is a hole where like light is actually coming through. What do the three of you do?
As Dewey bumps into Oka's face, they like shove him upward, and I think that's when they like look up and are able to see it, and then they're like, "Oh shit!" And it's like, you know, they've been holding their breath for a long time now, so they like really shove Dewey up, you know, to get him up there first, and they like kick, like push off the ground and like kick up and up and up and up.
Awesome. What about you, Manaia?
I think Manaia is maybe a bit delayed behind the rest of the party. So when she gets there, she knows how to hold her breath. She knows how to swim, so she's not too desperate to get air just quite yet. But as soon as she sees a hole, especially with light coming out of it, she's gonna kick up to it.
Okay. And Oka, I'm assuming you're also dragging like V, right? Okay. So Oka, you're the first one to break the surface of this hole. And you realize as you look at, you're like gasping for air, right? Because it's been a while since you've taken a breath. You look around and you're in kind of a small cove, like a natural like air pocket, right? Like in the middle of the seamount. And you're sort of like in the middle of like a circular pool of water. And there's sort of like a rocky brim around you, a ledge that you can pull yourself out of. And all around you, it's maybe like a medium-sized cove, perhaps like 20 feet wide at its largest, with kind of like a low rocky ceiling with like stalactites like dripping moss and seawater, and stalagmites like growing out of the ground as well. The light, you see, is coming out of a fire that someone has lit at the other end of this cove. This shimmering fire that's also like casting some warmth over the area. And you see the walls are sort of like, there's a section of the wall that has been decorated by tally marks like etched into the wall. You see to your left a giant axe leaned up against one side of the cave that looks actually a lot like Manaia's axe. Maybe it gives you like a sense of deja vu, like a red axe with like white edge at the blade. And you see like ripped up clothes have been like fashioned into a kind of like sleeping area, like a ripped up like black jacket that a woman is lying on, and she's breathing really hard and sweating really hard. She's got dark skin and this like big hair that like comes out, and her face strikes you. She's very beautiful actually, but her face is blocked expediently by a big boot as a woman steps in front of it. Tall, strong, and for an instant you're like, oh, Manaia, how did you get in front of me? But it's not Manaia at all. It is a orc woman who looks very strikingly like Manaia, but her face is a little bit more weathered. She's older, and there's like scars like crisscrossing her body in a way that doesn't crisscross Manaia's, and sort of hunched in another corner, like daubing at the elven woman lying on the ground, like daubing at her like sweaty forehead, is a human man with sort of like shimmering, like his skin is interesting because it's glistening, not with water, you realize, but with like a thin layer of like shimmering copper scales, and you think instantly of the shimmering like green, like almost like scale like texture of V's face. This is what you see.
Okay. I don't know if Oka actually registers any of that because they break the surface and they're frantic. The first thing they do is they like they take a huge breath, they sputter a little bit, and then they grab V's chin and pull her up so that her face is up and out. And they like just flounder to get to any solid thing, like probably not even registering that there are things, people, or places in here. They're just literally trying to if there's something near them, they like throw V's like chest, like they grab her shoulders and like throw her up on so her face and arms are out, and then they like dive back and try to grab onto the wet ball of wet ass pigeon and pull him up too.
Okay, Dewey, you wet-ass pigeon, you are clutched by Oka's drow fingers, quote-unquote drow fingers, as they lift you out of the water, right? Do you resist?
No, I don't know where I'm going.
Okay. Yeah, Dewey, you break the surface and you can take your first gasp of sweet, sweet oxygenated air as Oka sort of like throws you like onto level ground. What do you do?
I think Dewey pukes.
Okay, we don't have to.
He's got a
describe in
stomach
detail.
full of seawater.
Yep.
Okay.
Dewey, you take your moment in the corner there. And at this point, Manaia, I think maybe this is where you make your grand entrance.
I think so. Maybe she drags herself out of the water, one hand at a time. Yeah, and stands up.
And Manaia, you stand up. Are you still holding your axe, or have you put it back on your back?
Yeah, she's holding it. That was like her first hand was the axe, and then yeah.
You drag yourself out of the water. You are sopping wet. And as you pull yourself, actually, you don't pull yourself up to your feet alone. Actually, like hands steady you and like grab onto you, like not in like a rough way, but in like a stabilizing way. As you're still like coughing and like your eyes are still burning and stinging with salt water. Do you resist? These hands feel familiar.
I don't think she resists. I don't resist, but I do like sputter out. Thanks, Oka.
And as you're pulled up to your full height, actually, you look up into the eyes of your mother, Kahelani. And I think we could take our session break there.
Do we have energy to keep going a little longer?
Okay, yeah, we could maybe do a little bit more before taking our break. Okay.
I mean, I wanted to ask everyone else.
Sure, go for it.
Okay.
Who the hell is Oka?
So,
Shit, fuck.
they're the drow over there.
And she hugs you without saying anything else. She pulls you into like a huge hug. She's warm and dry, and you're wet as it's like soaking like against her skin and making her wet. But she like hugs and she squeezes you like really, really, really hard.
Manaia drops her axe and squeezes back. Not quite matching her strength, but
right. And Oka and Dewey, it is quite an odd sight to see Manaia dwarfed by someone. She actually has to hunch a little, so like her head doesn't touch the ceiling. And the hug is tightened by a third person joining in, and this is your father, Manaia, Napua. He doesn't quite register because he can't hold you as tight, but you smell him, a smell that you haven't smelled in 7 years. You smell your father's cologne, maybe his like natural scent, as he wraps you up in his own hug.
and Manaia takes out an arm and gets him in too.
And even though you're sopping wet from the whirlpool, obviously, there's like a new like warm like wetness is like falling onto your face and like against your neck as both of your parents are like crying and they're like weeping and sobbing against you as they're like holding you.
Manaia is whispering, like crying, like saying, "I'm sorry," over and over into her mother's clothes.
And your mother is just sort of like shushing you, like shh, like don't talk. It's okay. It's okay. And your father's saying, "There's nothing to be sorry for. There's nothing. It's nothing." As they're holding you and crying with you.
After probably a minute, that feels like years. I think we pull away, and there's still tears coming down Manaia's face as she asks, How is she?"
Your parents step away, and Napua looks up at you, and says, "You've grown so much, Manaia. Nolly, your mom, she's not doing great." And to sort of puncture it, like you hear Nolly like cough a little, like on like the sheet of like ripped up clothes that your other parents have made for her. And she's going, "Manaia? Is she here? I can feel her. Manaia, princess? Is that you?"
At this, Manaia gasps and is like, "Mom!" And she just books it and maybe falls to the floor next to her.
Okay.
Onto her knees.
Napua follows you over, but we cut away very briefly for Kahialani, who actually turns to Oka, Dewey, and V, and without like any ceremony at all, really, says, "She dying?" Pointing at V.
Yeah, I think Oka has maybe not been watching the reunion so much, and has been like over V, kind of like shaking a little bit and like trying to cast healing hands, and having it just like not work, to the point where like their fingers are like shaking and there's like a little bit of the red sparking coming off, but they like keep trying, and then they are probably like about to slap V across the face to try to get her to wake up. And they like turn and just like nod really fast.
Before Kahelani intervenes, Dewey, is there any like healing you can do here, or are you out?
I can. I think that Dewey's taken by this reunion of a lot of very tall people in a place that he didn't think there were going to be people.
Do you want to save V's life here, or are you gonna let someone else
fine.
do it?
Fine. I'll fucking see. Yeah, I'll be useful. Dewey's gonna, I guess, crawl over on his hands and knees and turn V on her side so she doesn't so she can. I don't know. Is she waterlogged? I'm gonna cast Cure Wounds.
Okay, so how much HP does V regain?
14 hit points.
Dang. Okay.
And
I got
V's like coughing up water, and there's a fish that comes out and flops around.
Yeah, okay. Upon seeing V revive, Kahelani just gives a curt nod and turns and goes back to Nali, Manaia, and Napua. And Nali is sort of like reaching out for you, Manaia, like as she's lying down, and you can feel her fever from where you are without even touching her. She's running like a very high fever, and she seems to be like sort of like coming in and out of like consciousness, right? But like through sheer force of like willpower is hanging on there. And Napua is like, I tried everything, but Manaia, the reason why we haven't been able to get out is, I don't know, my magic, I use it and then it's gone. I can't feel it anymore. I would have gotten us out no time at all, but the fight against that thing, it wore us down, and it's all we've done to just stay alive, for me to create food and water. And Nali just goes, shh, and like she raises a hand at a very hot and yet clammy hand at the same time, like touches the side of your face, Manaia, as she looks up like blearily through like tear-stained eyes. Manaia? Is that you?
Yes, Mom, I'm here. Here. We're here.
Manaia, I'm not even gonna make you make a medicine check. Your mom is dying. Napua goes, No, there's a way, Nali, there's a way, Manaia, Kahelani, we can save all of us. I can save Nali, I can save you, I can save the princess. Manaia, if we split the princess into two halves, right? One half in you, one half in Nali, maybe I think both of you can stay alive, right? The pact won't entirely be broken, right? Half a life for half a life.
I don't know, Dad. And at this, Manaia, I think, is going to close her eyes and draw deep into her soul. Like if she's wading in the water of this newfound magic, she's just stepped off the deep end. Hoping to allow the princess to manifest herself.
Okay. And I think as you're like entering almost like a Zen mode, right? As you're like closing your eyes and you're tapping into like the deepest reserves of your soul, all of you in the cove like feel wind, like a breeze, begin to pick up a little, as it's like swirling gently, not viciously like the whirlpool, but very gently and kindly around Manaia. And like out of nowhere, you see like glittering like golden and brown and green like leaves, like almost ghostly leaves, like swirl around Manaia as the princess responds to your beckon.
Princess, I'm here. I don't know what to do. Can you help her?
And I don't think you know Manaia, but everyone else would see that your silver eyes are glowing with like a green tint in them. And when the princess speaks to you, Manaia, everyone in the room hears her voice as well as it spills out of your mouth, right? And the princess says, "Oh, Nali. Oh, my best friend, my longest friend, my constant companion. I could..." And Nali actually, her hand strokes the side of your face, Manaia, and she just says, "No. No. A life for a life, princess.
No, Mom, please.
I made a pact. I will not tear you in half. I will not risk it. I will not risk the life of my daughter.
Mom, please, I don't know what I'm going to do without you.
Manaia." And her eyes suddenly clear as she sees you in stark, there's nothing blurring her, not even the fever, right? Not even the sickness. She's looking at you straight.
Mom, please don't leave me.
I'm not leaving you, Manaia. I am always here with you. And her hand sort of drifts down to your heart and presses there. The people that you love, even after we leave Manaia, we're never really gone. I will be there with you in your heart, in every breeze, every leaf that falls, every spell you cast. I'm there.
At this, as Nali is taking her last breaths, Manaia does something that she hasn't done in 7 long, painful, lonely years. She sings a song. I'm not entirely warmed up, so forgive me. I felt the wind that breaks the ship blow gently on my heart. I've seen the broken shards of glass become a piece of art. I've watched the shadows turn to black and overtake the light. But I've loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. The night. If darkness comes at eventide, or if it dims the morn, my path is bright, Galtenga's light, with twinkling stars adorned. The shadows give perspective on things already known, and it, although familiar, was only mine alone. Unknown. Sunlight fades, the light I love has dimmed. Brightness once ablaze is flickering away. Midnight comes, riding on the wind. Though my soul is set in darkness, it will rise in perfect light. I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. Love you, Mom. Mo am I. May Mahu's fires lift you, until waves carry you swiftly and gently into the Raven Queen's arms.
And Nolly dies with a smile on her face. And now let's cut to the break. So we will be back in 10 minutes for the conclusion of Arc 2. Yeah, we will see you. We have some brand new fan art. The culmination of the Furbies. So
We'll be back whenever we're done crying, so...
yes, we will. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we will be back. We'll see you in 10. Devin, that was fucking incredible. Okay, we'll be back. Stick around. We love you all. See you in 10.
From a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing. I learned to swallow light to illuminate my darkness. I learned to feel love when I look upon my dark things. I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing. I learned to swallow it to illuminate my darkness. I learned to feel love when I look upon my dark things. I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dance. Born of many blood, hair, teeth, 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 blood. Teeth, blood.
Sitting and see, fucked up in a limousine. I there's pins in your eyes. The Lord Almighty, a witch gave me a skeleton.
Hello, everybody. It is so good to see all of your non-existent digital faces yet again in the chat. Welcome back to the final part of the final episode of Arc 2. Wow, that amazing performance from Devin. That was that was incredible. Can we get some Manaia love in chat for that? That was just wow. So yeah, as usual, let's just do some content warnings again before coming back. For this campaign and this session, it may include death of loved ones, addiction, memory loss, body horror, gore, fantasy violence, emotional trauma and baggage, self-destructive behavior, bloodletting, cults and cult-like behavior, anxiety and panic attacks described in detail, poverty and classism, a refugee crisis, natural disasters, economic injustice, and ocean terror. So... woofta, wowza. Let's get back into the session. Okay. It is Napua who closes Nolly's eyes, and he is crying immensely. And Manaia, you see your father sort of fold and crumple into himself as he folds, like he's like covering like the top half of Nolly's body with his own like torso, and he's just sort of like crying and sobbing in Wuhan and sort of just like saying over and over again like why, and like not really making any sense or being coherent at all as he's crying. And Kahealani next to you, Manaia, she has sunk to her knees while you were singing to Nolly. And she is also crying, and she has one arm wrapped around your shoulder, and her other hand is sort of on Nolly's leg. So what do the four of you do?
I feel like Oka's probably also crying a little bit, just like watching from the corner where they, V, and Dewey are sitting in like a wet heap together. And after a long moment, Oka is going to letting them have their moment in time to grieve is going to very quietly start to like help V sit up a little bit and make sure everything is okay with Dewey, and is just going to take, like, not moving, but like looking back at the cave entrance, at this place, to see if there is any way out. They're starting to try to formulate a plan to get this family out of here.
Yeah, Oka, I won't even make you roll for it. There only seems to be one entrance and one exit, which is that little hole in the ground with a tunnel that feeds like directly into the swirling maelstrom.
I think the tunnel, Oka processing grief, aka let me do something else, so I don't have to look at this in the face, looks at the tunnels and thinks of the swimming bulettes, like the way that they can dig through land and also dig through water. And that makes Oka look at V, and then also like consider like the top of like this dome space. Like, yes, there's only one entrance right now, but if there were a way to how hard does the top of this place look? And like, from what I remember, did it go up much farther? Like, how much rock would we have to dig through to hit the water, and then how much water would be above that?
If you dug at an angle, like instead of going straight up, probably 30 or 40 feet of rock. I'm also going to say, because I forgot to do this, Devin, you can take 2 points of inspiration for that amazing performance, so you can fill up on that, because that was amazing. But yeah, to answer your question, at an angle, 30 or 40 feet of pure, like, bedrock.
And then how much water above that?
Let's say all of you swirled down maybe 500 feet.
Okay, so probably another 500 feet of water above that to swim through.
Sure. With like another like 300 feet to reach that fissure at the bottom. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oka's gonna like very gently kind of like pat V on the back and be like, how are you doing? Are you okay?
I've had better days. It's been a very, very long day, my friend, but I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. And Dewey, are you okay?
I'm fine. I don't have the magic to get us out of here, though.
Well, still have one of... And Oka's gonna like check their pocket for the wand of polymorph that still has one more go.
Amazingly enough, the wand has stayed strapped in into your uniform, into your clothing.
Let's give them a little bit more time, and then Oka kind of like twirls it in their fingers. And they look at V. Maybe you could just one more time.
What do you have in mind?
I don't know. Maybe I need to think about it more, but let's wait for them to be ready to move.
Okay. Speaking of the Wairuas, Kahealani just sort of starts talking while the three of you are in the middle of grieving. And she's not even looking at you. She's just sort of speaking as though like addressing Nali. But the words are for you, Manaia, and it's in Uhan. And she says to you, "We were sailing, Ocean's Thread, on our way to the court. And then something started happening. Something that your mom and your father and I couldn't understand. People started disappearing. But we didn't notice it until it was just the three of us. Like, we didn't even have any memory of the other sailors being there in the first place. And then it was Napua who figured it out. He suggested there was a creature on board that had somehow I don't know how it got on deck, but maybe it was even there from the beginning and decided not to attack us until we reached the boundary waters for some reason. Or maybe it hopped on board during one of our pit stops. I don't know, and frankly, I don't care. Napua suggested there was some sort of monster stalking us, picking us off one by one, eating us. Did some investigation, and he concluded that as long as this monster was singing or talking, we couldn't perceive it. So, we set a trap. We tried to lure it out. But before we could get rid of it for good, before we could kill it, before I could chop off its head, a storm rocked us. A storm. Manaia, I have never seen in my 30, 40 plus years of being a sailor. And she lets that settle in because that is saying something. Because your mom has seen a lot of shit. And for her to say that this storm is like the biggest one she's ever seen, and she exaggerates, sure. She's a sailor, she's prone to it, but here she's like dead serious. I don't know, it was just, there was wind and rain and thunder, but something about it felt off. It was too big. I'd never seen Mahu that angry before, ever. And then we were thrown overboard. And as the fates would have it, Scott and Nectus damned us, I suppose, sucked into the Raven's Eye. I thought we were goners for sure. But your father, Napua, he used his magic to shield me, and Nolly with the princess was able to shield herself as well from the worst of the whirlpool. We were dredged down to the bottom, and there's a fissure down there, Manaia. There's some sort of glowing light. To be honest, I don't really remember too much of it, but we were pulled in. We were pulled inside. I remember light. I remember burning. I remember drowning and screaming and wind and gale. And magic, the weave, pulling my soul in different directions, and then we were shot back out of the fissure. I don't know how, because I don't remember going back up. I just remember going down. And then we were shot out. Napua, Nolly, and I were able to claw our way to this cove. If we kept spinning, we just drowned to death. We've been here ever since. A notch for every day. And she indicates the tallies on the wall. We've tried everything to get out, but Napua's magic ran out, and... Well, Nolly, she could sense that you were in trouble. And the princess, well... But you're so... How are you so big, Manaia? We've only been here for 3 months.
At this point, has Napua drawn back and is just sitting there?
Yeah, he's drawn back. He's looking kind of like hollow, like dead-eyed at Nolly, like a part of his soul like died as well as Nolly.
Manaia stares at her father for just a moment, and then looks down and says, "Mother, I have something to tell you. Maybe we should move away from..."
Welcome to my privacy corner. And she brings you to like a corner of the cove that's got like a little some kelp set in the corner. And she like brings you like past like this like ring of kelp, and she says, "In the 3 months, that's been pretty tough for the three of us, and we told each other this is anyone's privacy corner if they needed it. So
Good.
you know the rules, Napua." Napua goes, "Yeah." And he like turns so like his back is facing the two of you.
Mother, let me start from the beginning. I'm a sailor now. It's like I've always wanted to be. Hired on with Captain Lahahana. You remember her?
Well, yes, of course. What do you mean you're a sailor now, Manaia? It's been... And how are you so...
Listen, we docked in Sulmanad because the ocean got too rough. And long story short, my companions over there, that's Oka, Dewey, and the one on the ground is V. We're on a quest to save the world, I guess. Mother, it's been a long time. It's been 7 years, in fact.
That's impossible.
It's true.
And Napua says without like turning around, "I knew something was up. I knew there was something going on with that fissure. We just didn't know what."
The And Manaia speaks up a little bit so that Napua can hear. The creature that stole your memories, Oka called it a hydroflare. You'll be glad to know we killed it.
But how? Where? Manaia, 7 years. And your
I
mother
know.
sort of braces against the wall. It looks like she's like lightheaded.
I know. It's a lot to take in, but
We missed 7 years? We missed 7 years with you?
I'm afraid so.
No, but you must have been. Well, who took care of you?
When you didn't come back, I was too young to live on my own, so I went to the orphanage. You know, the one down the street.
The orphanage? What, none of the other sailors' families would take you in? None of the Lahana, You grew up an orphan?
No, mother. I had a wonderful childhood. I only stayed there for a year or two, and mostly as a volunteer taking care of the other kids. But as soon as I was old enough to get out of there and Lahana hired me, I left. I didn't want to think the worst, but I've been on some wild journeys that I thought you were gone.
Oh, Manaia. And she gives you another hug. And at this point, Manaia, is this when you like fill in your parents about like everything?
Mm-hmm. The
Do you, like,
Paragons
tell, everything.
and Dr. Aluso and everything.
Yep. Is there anything you leave out?
Personal information about my companions. Other than that, no.
Okay, cool. So the fact that like Dewey's on the run from the URL?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And maybe when you're done with your tale, like the fire has died down a little. You know, it's just like sparking embers, and Napua sort of like automatically snaps his fingers, and like poof, the flames like jump back to life. And like I think a silence settles. At this point, I think Kahealani and Napua have both like sat down. You know, they've like
Mm-hmm.
Or
We've
just
like
taking it in.
exited the little cove and like are sitting around the fire.
yes. Like you, and I think at this point, like all 4 of you have dried off. That's how long this tale takes. You know, like you're no longer shivering. Yes, Oka?
Can we perhaps take the benefits of a short rest? Not to bring mechanics into the roleplay, but could we perhaps take the benefits of a short rest?
Yeah, you certainly can. So take the benefits of a short rest due to Manaia's tale. Because, wow, y'all need it. And do you also tell your parents about what you discovered during the Arc 1 interlude, when you went to the Kuvi Hot Springs and learned about, like, magic being finite?
Yes.
Okay.
Avoiding my father's eyes when I do so.
Sure. So by the end of this, your father has like produced a coin actually, and he's like weaving it like between his fingers. And like there's like a silence I think settles like over the fire, and Oka, Dewey, and V, the 3 of you have also been invited to like sit around the fire. So I don't think you're like off to the side anymore. Like all of you are sitting around the fire together. And Napua goes, well, at least I'm not alone in my magic leaching out. Oh, but this doesn't... You, V, was it? Manaia mentioned you're a magic user. Has your magic also evaporated?
Not yet. I've been trying to conserve it, but when you're trying to save the world, it gets a little difficult.
Well, Kahealani chimes in. Maybe it's because she's a paragon. Maybe that's why her magic has stayed and yours has Well, that might be true. I can't believe this is so much to wrap our heads around, Manaia. Yes, go ahead, Dewey. Sorry, Oka.
Oka kind of like has had their brow furrowed for a little bit, and they look to Napua and they go, "You said you went into that crack at the bottom."
Yes, we did. We tried fighting against it, but the whirlpool was too strong, and the storm was battering us in a way I had never seen before. We were forced down. I thought we were gonna die.
Sure. And you've only been here for 3 months?
He indicates the tallies.
So you popped back out during the cataclysm. I would reckon a guess that the fissure probably pulled all your magic out just by looking at it. It has unbelievable amounts of magical force. It's a miracle that we didn't get sucked into it. So, I mean, that might be why you've lost your magic. Not very many people on Andake have, although the magic is dwindling.
That's entirely possible.
And if you were technically in there for 7 years or something, then probably had a long time to siphon that magic out of you.
It didn't feel like 7 years. It felt like an instant, and then we were shot back out. Seconds, minutes, maybe, at the most. And then we saw, it's coming back to me now, we saw images in the light. My guess? And like your father is sort of like still like weaving that coin. And his like brow is like furrowed in a way that you've seen a few times before, Manaia, when he's like thinking really hard. Like right before he like spouts like a genius theory or something. My guess? It's some sort of intertemporal rift. It can spit you back out. I mean, it spat us back out 7 years into the future. Right, Kahealani? And the images we saw, you saw the images of armies, right? Kahealani? Yeah, I thought I was just going. But she like gestures at her head. No. Images from the past. Images from a future. If I go through that rift again, I might not survive it. I might get my magic back, or I might get shot back to the past, or rubber banded into the future.
No, we can't lose you too.
Don't worry, Manaia. It was just a theory. I'm not actually. Nothing is worth. I'd rather keep my magic gone than suffer you to lose me too.
That is not a place that any person should go.
No, certainly not. Well, the four of you, I suppose, are trapped here with us now. I mean, you have magic, right, V? Maybe... I mean, Manaia, did you have a... Quite embarrassing for us to be asking our daughter to save us again, but we're sort of all out on ideas of how to get out of here.
I have one. And Oka like takes out the little wand. But, you know, whenever you're ready, don't mean to rush you.
Napua's eyes light up at seeing the wand. He says, a magic item. It's been months. Years. Anyway, do you mind if I... What is that?
No. It's mine. Oka is weirdly protective of it. But they're like, there's only one left. It's you can turn people into animals or monsters with it. You just point at it and say what you want them to be.
Incredible. A wand of polymorph. Well, if only I'd had access to my greater reserves of magic, I would have polymorphed us all into sharks and gotten us out of here already. Who are you? Who is that meant for, Oka? And if there's only one charge left, what I mean, you can't turn us all into sharks or anything.
Well, I mean, I was thinking a water bulette or perhaps a tide whale, maybe another. Oka kind of like hits their brow furrowed, and they're like going through their monster encyclopedia in their mind. And then they like look and they're like, well, I was gonna turn V into, and they like kind of like gesture with it sort of loosely. They're like, well, I was gonna like turn V into, and they like pointed at V, and then this word, actually just like comes into their mouth. Like I don't think it was their idea when they say it. Almost like Vinash just like sparks into their mouth for like half a moment. And they go, well, I was going to turn V into a dragon. And they point it. And they use the polymorph.
A beam of light shoots out from the wand. And it strikes V square in the chest. With such force, I think, V, that you crumple backward across the fire. It doesn't hurt, but poof, the magic like sinks into you and poof, dissipates. And I think Kahailani and Napua both go, whoa, 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 like as you like do that kind of thoughtlessly, and they like almost like go for their weapons, you know, like Kahailani like reaches for her axe, you know, and Napua like goes like to like a wand of his own like strapped to his waist. But then nothing happens?
Oh, fuck! Shit, I don't... That's so fucking stupid. Dragons are fucking extinct. Oh, my fucking god.
And Napua just goes, well, yes, I was going to say that whatever creature you decide to turn any one of us into better still, I mean, be real or exist or have some sort of DNA for the magic to pull on, because otherwise there's no way V is gonna... And then V inflates. V grows. V, okay,
No.
retcon. And then
Choose a different word.
and then V enlarges. Okay, fine. Okay. And then V gets bigger. Right? Like V, like I think the first part of your body that shoots up is your neck. Like your neck just hits like the ceiling, and your head hits the ground because your head has gotten so big that it's like weighing down your neck. And then like your clothes, I'll let you pick, V. Do your clothes melt into you or do they split?
They melt into me.
Okay, your clothes melt into you as you begin to transform slowly but surely into a fucking white dragon. Like scales like sprout from your skin, and your eyes remain like green, like V's eyes, right? But like your blonde hair sort of like becomes like tufts of fur that like go down like the ridge of your spine, and the dragon that you are is sort of like a Chinese dragon, right? Like it's like long and it's got like multiple legs. Think like a Haku from Spirited Away. But like there's like a tiny pair of like wings at the very end that like begin to sprout out. But you begin to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You're like filling up the space inside the cove. What do the four of you do?
Oka starts screaming.
Dewey scrambles back and falls into the hole of water.
Manaia.
Manaia, for the first time, is not calm-minded in an emergency. She looks to her parents.
Kahailani is going, what the, what? All right, okay, it's happening. Okay, Napua? And Napua is like, I got her. And is like scooping up Nali like very gently, you know, as V is expanding and expanding, and Kahailani looks at you, Manaia, and says, grab on.
Right.
Snap to it, sailors. We've got one shot at this. Hold your breaths. As Kahailani takes charge and she like gets up on V's expanding back and like grabs onto like the tufts of like fur for purchase, right? On like the back of your neck, V. V, how are you handling this as you're continuing to grow? And I think like your tail smacks into the ceiling and it cracks, right? And like bits of rock begin to like spill from the ceiling.
Yeah, V's gonna see the cracking rocks, and look down at everyone like getting on to her back, and all of a sudden she has to cough, and I think she's going to cough cold breath, this huge icy blast at the cracks, forming, icing everything over so it becomes hopefully more frail, and she's just in this huge roar. Everybody hold your breath as she prepares to just plow through rock.
Okay, so Oka and Dewey, are you also grabbing on to V? Dewey, you're sort of floundering in the hole of water.
I guess I don't want to be left. I don't want to be left
V's,
here.
V's tail switches around and you grab onto it and you're like flapping over.
Yeah, I think that's what happens. What about you, Oka?
Oka's screams have turned into like manic laughter, like a mad scientist whose one theory has shattered open into their whole world. So they're like a child, like with uppy hands, like at V's face. They're like V, like just like screaming, and they like want to try to like get up closer, like up, like basically onto her neck.
Kahelani grabs you by like the scruff of your neck and pulls you up like you're a rag doll, like to sit like in front of her, actually. So she's like patronizing you a little bit, like she's your chaperone. And then like ice crystals like form on the ceiling and poof, crack open. And V, you bust through. You rocket, and your powerful light, like dragon body just crashes through this bedrock, and water, gallons and gallons and tons of water begin like rushing in to fill this empty space, and like all the tally marks and all the little bits of scrap clothing begin to like get like washed away as this like water begins to fill this cove. And V, you pummel out, like you're like digging and like roaring and breathing and clawing through the bedrock of where this cove is built into, and then you hit the ocean. And I'm not gonna make any of you do any checks because this is such a fucking awesome idea. And Oka, I just need you to give you a point of inspiration for that. And V, I also need to give you a point of inspiration for taking it like a champ. So V, how do you get your friends out of there? You are in the middle of the whirlpool, and even your powerful draconic body is getting sort of like buffeted by it. What do you do?
So based on the drawing, like I want to hit the center of the whole of the wall. So like, hopefully, I'm reaching air faster than anything else. And then I assume I can fly, maybe.
Yes, you can fly.
All right. So all of a sudden, I have never-ending story in my head. V is just gonna plow up like as quickly as possible into the eye of the Raven's eye, just plow through and just roaring as soon as she hits oxygen, and straight up into the air, past the sort of ocean's level, and the finish line is still there. I'm assuming people are still gathered. I don't know if the race is over or not, but everyone just hears a roar and they see this beast flying up in the air, and the sunlight's probably, just a silhouette in the sky. And as V does a little bit of showing off, a little bit, it's got to be V style. There's going to be some somersaults and barrel rolls and everything else as she then swoops in over the ocean and hits that finish line, if it's still there at all.
Okay, yeah.
We finished dead last on the back of a dragon.
Oh my
We did
god.
it with style.
Yeah, okay, so you shoot like out of the middle of the Raven's eye, like, and you fly into the air, and you like burst through the cloud cover and burst through like the swirling winds of the hurricane above the Raven's eye, and you see it. The finish line, and there's several people across the finish line already, and actually there seems to be like an awards ceremony happening, because you see there's like a floating like stage that's not made of wood but made of like glowing like discs of light, and like upon that stage you see Quicksilver, the Yuan Ti man with like the cowboy hat on basically, and that quick sling at his hip, and he is in the middle of awarding first place medals on top of like a little like stand to the Bonebreakers. who you've slingshotted to victory apparently, and he's like putting the final medal like around Lore's neck when people like everyone like gathered about like on this platform in the middle of the ocean start screaming as a huge white dragon flies through the air like straight toward that stage. Quicksilver turns around and like his eyes go wide, and he actually draws his quick sling, and boom, there's like a bang as the gun goes off, but V, it just ping, it like pings off of your scale, like you don't even feel it as you go like rushing past, and everyone is screaming. A few people like jump into the water to like get away from you, like other people are like cowering, but the bone breakers, Laura is just going, oh, that's my crew, that's my crew, and she's like pointing and screaming and jumping and laughing. People are going like, what, a dragon? No, it's gotta be an illusion, right? There's no way. Are the dragons back? What? And all of you sort of see like Ace, like this rat folk man, along with like his like two like tide wolf like companions. They're both like quivering in fear, and like Ace is like tearing his fur out, being like, what is going on? Like losing his little rat mind. And V, you do like a loop-de-loop through the air, and you fly back toward the stage. How are the rest of you taking this?
I'm just trying to hang on for dear life. I'm not enjoying this ride.
I think Kahealani is the only reason that Oka has not stood up and tried to surf it, you know, or like get up closer, you know? Like, she's the only reason that I think they're still actually attached to V's body.
What about you, Manaia?
I think Manaia is maybe backwards on V's back, helping Napua hold Nolly.
Totally. And I think maybe that's where the scene can end, with like V doing like loop-de-loops in the air, like as like a dragon, like majestic, like backlit by the sunless sky. And then I think we need to move into like an epilogue, like sort of situation for this arc, because there's a couple of loose ends we gotta tie up. So let's return to, first of all, the weave spun nest. Yes, Oka.
I was going to say maybe V Dragon can fly us to the weave spun nest instead of ending at the end of the race, perhaps?
Yeah, sounds good. So are y'all gonna, like, the bone breakers are doing like uppies, like they want to go on? Are y'all gonna like let the bone breakers join you?
We're part of their crew. We'll get the reward at some point.
Mm-hmm. It's V's decision as the dragon.
V's gonna swoop in low, one tail claw extended, and just swoop up all three of them in one grasp, and heads off into the distance to take all of our friends somewhere a little more drier with a little more land.
Yeah, they're all screaming their heads off, you know, like as you a single huge claw like scoops them up. Laura's just shitting her pants. She's going, "This is the best day of my life! Oh my goodness! Praise God and Nectus!" As you through the air and like literally riding off into the distance. And I think like as soon as like your entire party's like out of sight, like there's like a moment of silence like by like the stage, and Quicksilver like his cowboy hat has like flown off, you know, and he just goes, "What in tarnation?" Then we go back to V swirling through the clouds, right? And this magic lasts for like an hour, right? Is like what we've established. Mm-hmm. That's more than enough time for you to get back to the weave spun nest. I'm assuming that's where you're going. That's last where you left Rev. So as a V Dragon V, all the way back down, you see like blooming emerald green forest like and swamp like meet your gaze as you break down past cloud cover. You see like the glittering like blue waters of the boundary waters and the Hema Sea to the north of it sweeping, and then to the far south you see like more of the continent of Andake, and you can't quite see the islands of Uhanahi, of course, even from your high vantage point. And you fly back down, and as you get closer and closer, the trees begin begin to like take on individual shapes instead of just like a sea of green, bisected, and you can see like the black tongue snaking through the entirety of the country of the Court of Ravens, and you descend lower and lower and lower until your belly is skimming the tops of trees, and the breeze is rushing past you. You know, it's really quite a magical experience. Until V, you dip past the cover, the canopy of the trees, and you break into like you approach a clearing, the weave-spun nest. And waiting for the four of you, in the middle of the weave-spun nest, which I think the weave-spun nest is big enough to hold you, V. It's quite, that's how large this nest is, made from like the tangled boughs and roots and branches of huge trees knitted together to form a big nest-like shape. And V, as you light down in the middle of this nest and you like your claws like hit the ground, Rev is standing there holding a scythe on her right, with that cape of feathers like whipping out behind her in the breeze. Dust and twigs and leaves are kicked up as you land. What do the four of you do?
I think Manaia, Kahealani, and Napua carrying Nali get off first. And not slowly, but wordlessly walk up to Rev.
Okay. Napua, I mean, you explained who Rev was, I think, to your parents. So Napua moves to like wordlessly like set Nali's body down in front of Rev. Do you help him with this?
Yeah.
Okay. And as that happens, Rev just sort of looks you directly in the eyes, Manaia, and says, and when she speaks, it's like almost in like a double voice. You could hear like an undercurrent of the Raven Queen's voice, just like brimming with power, like underneath her own voice. And Rev says, I can't describe this feeling, Manaia. It's like I was missing something I didn't even realize I was missing. And now I have it. The profane undeath is gone. But this is my dominion. The court is my domain. Her soul has remained inside her body. It has not gone yet. And she raises the scythe. She says, this will not harm her.
I nod.
And Rev brings down the scythe and sweeps it across Nali. And the blade goes through her body, but it doesn't cut her. It just sort of like passes through her corporeal form. And shing, when like the blade like sweeps past like where her heart would have been you see like the silver blade of it like shimmers, and you see Nali's face like flit across it, like just for like half a second, and then it's gone. And then like Rev actually like twirls the scythe, and then the scythe like disappears in like a puff of black smoke. Her soul is with me now. I will carry it until we're connected with the after again.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Manaia. She tells me to tell you she loves you.
I'm assuming Rev can't respond to her, so I'm not going to try to do the like tell her I love her.
Tell her
back.
I love her, and then if she tells you that she loves you even more, right? Rev turns to Kahealani and Napua. These must be your parents, the ones you were trying to save.
Yes, these are the three of them.
By the gods, a real live paragon. Never thought I'd see the day. And Kahealani like steps forward, looking down at Rev. She's sort of like sizing Rev up and nods. And then turns back to you, Manaia, and the party at large and says, well, feels like a dream. Feels like Mengshen Zhidi is playing a trick on me. But what's next, Manaia? saving the world even more?
I have a duty. It's what I was born to do, as much as I thought it was sailing. I'm sure we can find a room for you two with Dr. Luso in the Republic of Talmud. The oceans are too dangerous to try to go back home. I'm sorry.
No, you're right, Manaia. And Kaheilani puts a hand on your shoulder, and you see her like eyes are brimming with tears, either for Nali or for you, probably both. And she says, I still can't believe it. This again feels like a dream. I'm afraid that if I go to sleep and I wake up, we'll be back in that cove. Manaia, I can't believe it. My daughter, a paragon. If it was going to be anyone, to be the chosen of Mahu, it would be you. It would be our daughter. Isn't that right, Napua? And Napua sort of like nods and places his hand on your other shoulder. We're proud of you, Manaia.
Thanks. Thank you. I thought for a good week that maybe I wasn't a paragon. Maybe it was supposed to be one of you.
Well, damn. If Napua or I were paragons, we would have been out of that cove in 3 seconds flat.
Oh, I'm sure Napua would have the biggest fireball.
You know what? I bet I would have. And Napua is like scratching his chin, like thinking about the possibilities.
Oh, and Mother, you would have just smashed that rock like it was nothing.
One swing, bam! And she like gestures with her axe and like laughs with you. I think at this point, Rev steps forward to the rest of the party. Oka, Dewey, and especially V-Dragon. And Rev looks up at you, V, as you're just huge, brimming with power, and says, if I didn't literally have a god inside me at this moment, I would have said this was impossible.
You can see the whiteness start to blush and of her cheeks, of her dragon cheeks, and she says, I'm living it right now, and I still think it's impossible.
And Napua breaks away from Manaia and Kaheilani and says, well, if I may interject, all this talk about paragons, the cataclysm, everything, is obviously making me recalibrate my definition of what is and isn't possible. But I do have to put my foot down here. V, it shouldn't be possible for you to polymorph into a dragon, unless... And he like pauses for like a really long time. I mean, and he scratches at like these coppery scales that like adorn his neck. Unless you were, actually part dragon.
We all know dragons don't exist, right?
You say as a dragon.
He's just gonna hold on real tight to that denial. My mother always told me my father was a dragon, but I just thought she was, not quite in touch with reality all the way.
Is that so? And Napua like cocks his head to the side and says, well, I never really knew my mother, but all the kids at the orphanage where I grew up made fun of these. So I made up a story for myself. Said my dad was a copper dragon. Fell in love with my mom. Maybe this was meant to be our meeting.
Maybe, yes. It seems... I hate the word destiny, but it does seem like very good luck that we came across each other.
Oh, V, oh, Father, you could teach us so much. V, my father is the most... is such a powerful sorcerer. He... No. I'll let you two.
Oh, Manaia, I would have agreed with you. I am quite a powerful sorcerer, but I am all out of magic. There's still a lot of theory, practice, and strategy I'm sure I could pass on, though.
I could definitely have a conversation. And V like does sort of like the head thing to towards Rev. Like
Not very
maybe it's
subtle as a huge dragon, but okay.
Maybe we could have this conversation a little bit later.
Yes, says Rev, and she turns to the rest of the party and says, well, I'm sure there's a lot for us to discuss. It would definitely be a good idea for your parents to stay at Dr. Eluso's. That's probably the safest place for them to be. I think the 5 of us should talk about our next steps. And Kahealani and Apua just sort of raise their hands. Like, Kahealani lifts her hand from your shoulder and says, go, have your talk. We'll look at this huge bird's nest, I suppose. And she's looking around at the weave-spun nest.
We'll get you to safety, I promise. That's priority number 1.
Certainly.
Now, this is holy ground, so you might want to watch your step.
And Napua was like picking at some twigs on the ground, like fascinated. And he goes, yes, of course, certainly. Holy ground. And he and Kahealani step aside to give the 4 of you and Rev some space to talk and plan about your next steps. For Arc 3! So, now that the 5 of you have some alone time, what do the 4 of you say?
V, I think you can, I think it's up to you when the magic stops. Not to, just saying.
I didn't want to say it out loud, but it's a little awkward trying to look up at
I know, I feel like if
face.
we're trying to be private, I have to shout for you to hear me. But,
There's a very large sigh, which is even larger because of dragon size sigh, and
sigh
and
of
as-
like cold air blows around this.
right as the exhale, it's like there's like air crystals, and you're feeling a little bit cold, and you have to like wrap you up in your whatever you're wearing at the time, and she like closes her eyes, and just like you see her like trying real hard, and you slowly see, and then all of a sudden like her vest pops out of the dragon skin as she's shrinking, and she's still got this really long head, and wings go melting away, her hair on the back slowly becoming the hair on her head, but she still has this really long neck that's like her head is on the ground still, and then she just like has to like reach down and grab it and like pick it up and like put it on, and then that finishes the transformation back to V.
well, that's fucking horrific.
Yeah, he turns to Oka and is like, you're out of charges, right? Because that was grisly.
Can I give Erica inspiration for that? That was
Yeah, absolutely.
funny.
So, V, take another point of inspiration for that amazing description. Okay, so V, as you shrink and then head back on as V proper, Oka. I think as you're looking at V, sort of like get her like limbs sucked back in, something about like the dragon form, right, of V strikes a chord with you. And as she shrinks back down into elf form, the sort of image of like her as like a big majestic dragon remains like emblazoned like on your vision. As we hit a flashback, because we did hit that goal, to Oka's past. And I think that superimposed image of like V as a dragon is now imposed on a strip of paper. Like a azure, like bluish, like beautiful, like almost like rainbow dragon on this scroll that's open on a like desk. That Oka, you as a much younger Oka, are sitting in front of studying. And sitting across, or actually next to you in her wheelchair, is your mother, Arden.
You know how like 6-year-olds will not sit very well, but they'll like basically stand up in their chair and have their like entire bodies over tables? That is what baby Oka is doing with this like mess kind of. They're like probably like maybe 7, like maybe like 7 or 8. These like these like 2 big pupils like with the blue scleras just like pouring over these pages, and like they anytime they see a drawing they like bring it up really close to their face and they're like, what's this one, it's so it's amazing, I want to see one, can't we see one?
Oh, Makoya, I'm sorry, but dragons and giants, well, they went extinct a long time ago.
Oka's face falls. This is the worst news that they have ever heard in their life. And they're like, what? Extinct? That's not fair. Why?
Well, a long, long time ago, there was an event known as the 1,000-Year War, where the great dragon
That
kingdom...
sounds boring. What about the dragons? What about, well, father has dragons, so, right?
Yes. The seal of our kingdom, the seal of your father's domain, Makoya, is the Azure Dragon. But our house, the Hiens, and she like turns the scroll to like show like a new section of it, and it is actually a Tsilin, which is this sort of like creature with like antlers and almost like a dragon-like face, but it's not quite a dragon, and like a deer's body and hooves and like a little tufted tail, lion's face actually. And I think that Tsilin is a lot more majestic than the dragon, don't you think?
No. Well, it's okay, I guess. But I think that the dragons are just bigger and cooler. If that's father's house, why isn't it ours?
Well, think of your father as a very, very, very big house, like the palace, right? Your father is the palace, and there's a lot of rooms in the palace. Aren't there, Makoya?
A lot of rooms I'm not allowed to go into.
That's right. And we are one of the rooms.
Well, can't we go in other rooms?
No, not the ones we're not allowed in, Makoya. Let's not get in trouble here.
Okay, fine. But I'll make you a deal, Mom. I won't go into any, and they like kind of scratch their nose because they're young and they get distracted, right? And they like look over the parchment and they're like, well, fine. If you let me fight monsters, then I won't go in any rooms.
Oh, the Tsilin isn't a monster, Oka. It's a guardian. It's a protective spirit. Look, see those clouds underneath its hooves here? It floats around all day on a little cloud so it doesn't harm a single blade of grass. That's how kind its heart is. It can see into the hearts of evildoers, and then it'll gore them right through the chest. And like she like does like a little blah to like scare you a bit.
Like you. Okay, fine. The Tsilin is my favorite, even though I kind of like the dragon more.
Good. And again, Makoya, don't go into those other rooms. I did get a talking to from Queen Guilin about you tugging on Prince Qian's braid.
Well, he has a stupid braid and he called me names.
Well, he's 2 years younger than you, so try to be a little nicer, okay?
Fine. like the ceiling. I'll float, and then I won't touch any grass. And they like kind of like jump off the desk and like run around to the other side, and they like pull out more drawings, or more like illustrations, and like point and look and ask their mom which beast is which.
I love that. And maybe we end that with like your mom like turning, like wheeling her chair over to you and like pointing at all the cute little images. And we like leave that scene, that flashback of with, you know, on the Tilian open on that page, specifically on its like very like fierce face and its long antlers that your mother had said would gore through the chest of evildoers. And now we flash back to Oka. Maybe with like unconsciously your hand touching your chest where that scar is, as V finally compresses back into V form. So Oka, what do you say?
Oka stares at V for kind of a long time, and then they just kind of clear their throat. Right. Since we technically won the Derby, we should, and they like kind of like get their clarification back a little bit more. We should take up that reward. It's been so fucking hard to get to the heart of any of this, and I'm sure Nabal has its own problems that the doctor can fill us in on. But the chance to talk to the champion is one that we should not let go of.
I agree. Nabal is close, just across the boundary waters, assuming we can avoid the Raven's Eye this time. It'll be quicker to get there than try to go back to the doctors.
I don't know, Manaia. Maybe we should just take a dinghy, just straight shot, right? Just again.
Straight shot would be the fastest.
I can make sure we get a seaworthy ship. If it's just across the boundary waters, we shouldn't run into too much trouble.
And what will you do then, Rev? Will you come with us? We could sure use the power of a god on our side.
I'm torn, Manaia. There's something you should know. After I accepted the Raven Queen into my soul, I got grim. I got the mantle of the grave, and she gestures to the cape. I also got something else. I wasn't entirely sure until the four of you came back here, but I think I can sense if other paragons are nearby.
What do you mean?
Well, the four of you are lighting up in my periphery. It feels like, I don't know, I can tell. You know? Looking at the four of you, it feels right. But only when you flew closer. I could tell where you were. I could tell you were coming at me at a great distance and at great speed. Maybe a mile out? So I might, if we're trying to find the other paragons to maybe get our powers together, get Vinash into its proper host, gestures at Yuoka, maybe we'll have enough power to put Andake back together. But I also I don't know. This is my domain. The Court of Ravens are my people. I have to take care of them. I need to harvest the souls that remain in everyone's bodies who were left behind by the lifting of the profane undeath. There's a lot of rebuilding to be done here, too.
Maybe we can regroup then. You take care of what needs to be taken care of here. We can't put Andake back together if the cord is still shattered. Maybe we can talk to the champion and then regroup. See what we know about Nabal. Then maybe you can come help us find more paragons, depending on how that all goes.
Right. We'll go talk to the champion. Shall we meet you on the southern shore of the Ingir?
We shall. Okay. Then in that case, V. And Rev turns to you, V. like her one golden eye and one pure inky black eye, like locked on you. Obviously, you're going with your friends, right?
Yeah, I guess I really should. I'd V's torn. I'd really hope you come back to us as quickly as possible.
Well, all I need to do is harvest a couple hundred souls scattered across the Court of Ravens, store them all in Grim, make sure the Raven Queen's okay, help rebuild the court from the ground up, expel the last of these Nabalish vagrants from our borders. Yeah, shouldn't take too long.
That is both terrifying and kind of attractive all at the same time.
Really?
Oka puts their hand kind of like over Dewey's face and begins to like lead them away, and like kind of like
Manaya's walking,
tugs
yeah.
on like Manaya's elbow too, and just like goes like a beeline to somewhere else.
But you think it's hot that I have a god inside me?
Shut up! Shut up! Oka says. Shut up!
At one point, while we were out there, I had a vision of you and I saw Scald and Nectis.
I remember. It was when the Raven Queen and I first united. You were there. I guess I was thinking about you and my soul called you there. And you were in danger, I think? You were about to die, but I gave you a little bit of the Raven Queen's blessing. She sees, and I see too, Scott and Nectis inside you. You are a paragon, V. You're a paragon of Scott and Nectis.
What? I really, seeing what these have done to Oka and everyone, like, that's terrifying to me. I never believed in all these gods and goddesses to begin with.
You know what, V? When I was young, I believed in the Raven Queen so much that it hurt. And then I lost the first woman I'd ever loved, and I stopped believing in her at all. But now, there's a part of her literally inside me. And V, if it's the right god, it doesn't hurt at all. It feels like remembering a face you didn't realize you'd forgotten. It's not so scary. It was meant to be. Destiny.
I grew up for many, many decades hating the idea of destiny. My mother always told me that it was my destiny she also told me that my father was a dragon, and I didn't believe that for many years. I tried to prove her wrong or right many times, and it just never seemed like she was right. But all of a sudden, it seems like everything I once believed to be true is completely false. But I do like the fact that if you can call me to you at any time like you did, whether it's I'm in trouble or not, I hope that even when we're apart, we can carry a little bit of each other along the way.
If you're in trouble, I'll know. And Rev bends down. And I think maybe we cut away at just like the right moment as like Oka's like covering Dewey's eyes. And like Manaya's turning away. And yeah, V and Rev, the two of you share an intimate moment. Bao is here as well, sharing that moment with us. And I think like, does that feel like a good place to end? Do we feel like we want like one more like, or like should I paint like a word picture bringing us out?
You got
Paint
one
us
up
the word
already?
picture and take us out.
Okay. So sort of like off like Rev and V's kiss, I think like we pan up to see like the sunless sky getting darker and darker, like painting like a dull gray across like the starless horizon. As the Bone Breakers are sort of like huddled in a corner, like looking in awe at the four of you, Kahealani and Napua are sort of like hunched next to like Nali's like peacefully resting body. And Oka, Manaia, Dewey, and V. The four of you look toward the other shore across the boundary waters for your next stop in the leg of your quest to save the world. The Championship of Nabal. And that is where we are going to end Arc 2! Ooga booga! Thank you everyone for tuning in. It is literally 5:44, but that's how these things work, right? They run long. So thank you to my glorious, beautiful, amazing, talented cast for such an incredible final performance for Arc 2. We will be taking a break, just like last time with Arc 1, so there will not be a show next week, but tune in Saturday, May 1st at 3 p.m. U.S. Central Time for our Arc 2 interlude. As we get to the championship, we have a very special guest star, an unbelievable guest star, some might say, so tune in for that. And in the meantime, we love you all. Thank you so much. I have been your GM and executive producer. You can find me on Twitter, Twitter and itch at by Connie Chung. And let's do introductions. Pass it along to Devin.
Hello, everyone. My name's Devin. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on our Discord server, which I'm sure has been linked in the chat more than a few times. It's a wonderful place to come talk about the campaign, come talk about good food that you've eaten, and also count to 6969. And I'll pass it on to Erica.
Hi everybody, I'm Erica, she, her, I played V, and I come check me out here on Twitch at Erica Newgirl. Just do it. Just give me a follow. Come check me out sometime. We will be lewd but not rude, and hopefully we'll have some good laughs. I will pass it on to Max.
Hey, I'm Max. Go by the pronouns. I played Dewey Quirk, Ragdoll Bird Boy. You can find me on Instagram mostly, making pride flag stuff at Stitchmonger. Pass it to C.
Hi, my name is Cia, use they, them pronouns. I played ex-Prince Makoya Hien, aka Oka Haye, our Asamar Bloodhunter in today's episode. You can find me streaming on Twitch at pi_sharp doing digital art, video gaming, stuff like that. So tune into that. And it looks like we are raiding Persephoroth.
We sure are. Persephoroth is awesome. She is a Black trans streamer, so give her a follow. She's amazing. Thank you again so much for all of the subs, all of the support throughout this entire arc, especially during our last two episodes. Wow, that it just means so much to us, and we are so excited to offer you everything we can as creators on our end. So stick around for the raid. Use the raid message for Persephoroth and shoot her a follow. We love you all so much. We will see you on May 1st. Peace.